Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on 11th of June. Today we have some updates, so let's discuss them. And today we're going to start with Kharkiv area. Let's take a look at this map. This is Kharkiv. This is the town that the Russians were trying to establish control over at the very beginning of this military special operation, or how some people call this during this war. And if you remember, this blue area, like this colored area, is the maximum territory that the Russians were managed to establish control over. After that, the Ukrainians started their counter-offensive operation and they pushed the Russians back towards the border. And the red area, this red area is the territory that is still remains under the Russian control. So this is the area, and there are a lot of very interesting things that happens near Kharkiv. We can call these things that happen near Kharkiv as something like RECO commandos operations. There are no big Russian army in this area. You see that they're controlling not much. But there are a few areas that we need to understand and we need to pay attention to. And of course, I found an interesting map from the Russian sources. This is the map. And this map shows the situation in Kharkiv area by the end of 10th of June. So we can say like this morning. This map shows the current situation in Kharkiv, and as you can see, the situation that we can see on this map and on this map is totally different. First of all, we can say that according to Russian sources map, we can see that the Russians have control over, for example, town by the name of Guryev-Kozachok. You see this town on the north from Kharkiv. If we take a look at this map, we see that this town is under the Ukrainian controls, but I added this red territory, like to update this West sources map according to the Russian information. So this area is under the Russians, but according to the Ukrainian sources, this territory is under their control. Another important update that, for example, the town Shopine, this one, is under the Ukrainians. You see, I have updated this map with the yellow color on the red color, so it may be a little bit orange, but this territory is under the Ukrainians. If you take a look at this map, the Russians are saying that it's like on this corner, this one, that Shopina is under the Ukrainians. Another important update of important difference between these two maps is two towns. This one, Cernovo and Rubizhne, these two towns. And according to the Russian sources map, these two towns, Rubizhne and Cernovo, is under the Russian control. And you can see that the front line moves to the south, and the front lines end somewhere on the west from Stary Saltov. This town, Stary Saltov, and this is the area that, according to the Russian sources, is under their control. And we discussed the situation many times. If you remember, according to these Russian sources, the Ukrainians managed to establish control, their bridgehead on that side of this river. So these two yellow things that the Ukrainians managed to establish, and they still hold this area. The Russians didn't push them back and haven't pushed them back yet. So if you take a look at this map, you're going to see this. This is it, Stary Saltov, Hetomля. So this Pechenegi and this area on this bulk of the river is under the Ukrainians. But they're not improving their operation, they're not moving further, and mainly they're stopped and slowed down because of the fact that the Russians managed to establish control over this road, Shestakovo-Fedorovka. This town, Shestakovo-Fedorovka, and this road connects Stary Saltov with Kharkiv. And this was the only one artery that Ukrainians could use to supply, support, and reinforce this area. And for now, there is no way to do this. There is a small local road that leads from Stary Saltov towards Moldova. And according to information I have, the Ukrainian forces did rotation like yesterday and the day before, towards Stary Saltov. So there are very fresh forces there. And as far as I understand, the Ukrainians are planning to start their offensive operation. Maybe they want to return back these two towns like Fedorovka and Shestakova, or maybe they're planning to attack towards Rubizhne, or maybe they want to develop or increase their bridgehead on this side of the river. If we're talking about any other places of this front line, we can say that there are very heavy clashes. And we know that there are not much forces from both sides. From the Russian side, there are not much BTGs, the same from Kharkiv. And all these the parties in this area are trying to handle everything with the forces they have. So it's like everybody control each other. The Ukrainians get their main goals in this area, and the main goal was to push Russians back from Kharkiv towards the border. You see that this area really was returned by the Ukrainians. Of course, they lost a little bit in this area, but they managed to cross the river. And this is very important. For now, I can't say that Ukrainians are planning to do any further offensive operation in Kharkiv area, just maybe to solve the issue with Shestakova-Fedorovka, like to restore control over the road that connects Kharkiv and Stary Saltov. But I think that the Russians, they understand all the risk in this area, and of course, to be on the safe side, to be on safe position, of course, they also are planning to establish control and attack Stary Saltov from their side. So we'll see what's next, we'll follow their updates, and so on. Now let's move a little bit to the south, to the Izyum bridgehead. This is our Izyum bridgehead. And as you know, there are a lot of Ukrainian soldiers and forces on the line between Chepil, Protokopivka, and the town on the south, Petrovska. So this is their main position here, the Ukrainians' main position, and they still try to cross the river. And we have some confirmation about that one more time. So they're trying to bomb Rudnova to cross the river. And their main idea and their main goal to attack Izyum from the back, from the front, from the flanks. So they still want to do this. According to the Russian sources map, if we take a look at the Russian source map, there is one important difference between these two areas, and the main important difference is like Velika Kamyshevacha is on the Russian. And we got this update like a few weeks ago. So this town, Velika Kamyshevacha, is on the Russian, and I know that now the Russians are pushing towards Grushovacha. So let's update this map a little bit for better understanding. And the thing is that Grushovacha is a very important town. We discussed that many times. The main importance of this town, this bridge and this road that connects the bridgehead, this bridgehead where there are a lot of Ukrainian forces on the line Petrovsky, Zavgorodny, Protokopivka, and Chepil. There are a lot of Ukrainians here. They are trying to hold this area, and this area connected with the Izyum bridgehead just with one road, with this road. And as you can see, there is a cross in this town, and there are two roads. One of them leads towards Izyum, and another one leads towards Lazovaya. So Prityutin and Lazovaya, so towards this area, we can say. So this town is very important, but I can't say that there are very heavy clashes there. The Russians are doing some recon combat, try to understand. I'm sure that they know exactly, but they're trying to take a little bit to push this area a little bit. For now, they're not moving there, and I think that the main idea why they're not moving there, because these forces is still on their position. So it's something like domino. As soon as one detail falls, the others details in this campaign, in this picture, will fall after this area. The locals from this area announced that Ukrainians moved a lot of forces towards Pervomaisk, towards this area. And according to information I have, there is like a high risk that Ukrainians are planning to attack Balaklia. So the Ukrainians collecting and accumulate some forces in this area between Kharkiv and Izyum. But as I see and as I understand, they don't understand what are they going to do with these forces. They have forces near this forest near this bridgehead, but they try to cross, but the Russians recco and the Russian drones all the time, they spot all these attempts, and after that the Russians cover Ukrainians with artillery. The Russians collect some forces, the Ukrainians collect some forces near Первомайsk, Gusarovka. They're planning to attack Balaklia, but they're not doing this. So something happens there, but nothing special, nothing more obvious, and so on. So like forces just moving from town to town without any actions, without any active things, and so on. The only thing that comes to my mind is that Kharkiv so you see that Kharkiv is not very far from Izyum bridgehead and Slaviansk, Kramatorsk, the area where, as we discussed in the previous video, the main clashes soon are coming, and that the battle for Slaviansk has started. And as I understand, the force from Kharkiv, there is no way how to move forces from Kharkiv, so with centralized way how to move force from Kharkiv towards this bridgehead. So if you take a look at this map, you see that there is only one road that connects, for example, Kharkiv and Izyum bridgehead, and this road, it's a railroad, moves from Lazova, from this town, and we know that Lazova is under very heavy bombing. So I understand that it's not very easy to move the forces from Kharkiv, from this area, towards Izyum bridgehead, towards Kramatorsk, Slaviansk, using the railroad. Another way to do this is, of course, the regular roads, but the same picture. The same picture, as you can see, that there is orange line, orange road. It's like big road, and the same situation. These roads leads to Lazova. And if you want to move this force towards Slaviansk, you need to use this road, and we're coming to Grushovacha, and after that to Velika Kamushovacha, and there is no way further. Another way to using Pavlograd, but it's a very big hook. So that's why I think that Ukrainians are trying to collect their forces here, because they don't know how to move them further in centralized ways. So that's why they're doing something here, and maybe they're waiting for something. So we'll see what's next. We'll follow this situation. Of course, there wasn't much updates on our Donbass Kharkiv operation. Yesterday we discussed about town Sidorova. As you can see, for example, the west sources map has been updated. Like you see that all this territory is colored with red. The same situation with Bogorodichne. The Russians are attacking Bogorodichne, and even this map shows that they are somewhere near the town, but according to the Russian sources, the Russians managed to establish control at least over part of this town. Let's take a look at this area. You see that the gray line moves along the town and split the town into pieces. So according to the Russians, they're saying that they managed to establish control at least over half of this town, and there are heavy clashes in the town already. As I understand, they got an order to retreat from this area, because the same situation near Dolina, Krasnopolye, the Russians army number 20 pushing this area. If we take a look at our bridgehead and Tatianovka, Priship, Sidorova, Tatianovka is under the Russians, Priship is under the Russians, but the Russian source map hasn't been updated because they're still waiting. They're still waiting for more confirmation. And yesterday I told you that there was heavy clashes in Sidorova, and that there were some information that the Russians managed to establish control. But today we got more and more information that the Russians were pushed back. Maybe the Russians moved some Reku forces there. Maybe they managed to establish some control, but then they were pushed back. So for now, the battle for Sidorova still continues. So we'll follow this situation, and I'll update you in the future. Now I want to discuss with you another important town, not from this Lysychansk agglomeration, not from this cauldron, because we understand everything what happened there. And for now, no more updates, a lot of heavy clashes on the front lines and so on. I would like to discuss the Kherson area, because there are a lot of clashes there. The Ukrainians are doing another attempt to offensive attempt towards the Russian positions. They're doing this all this time. As far as I understand, they managed to accumulate a lot of forces there, and there are a lot of interesting events that happens here all the time. So let's discuss them. So as usually, we have two maps: the West sources map and we have Russian sources map. They're almost the same, but there are some differences in this map. And one of the most important differences is town by the name of Alexandrovka. This town, if you take a look at the Russian source map, you see that this town is under the Russians army control. And if you take a look at the West source map, you see that this town is still under the Ukrainians. To tell the truth, it's a very important area. And we need to know exactly whose town it belongs to. The opposite opinions about these towns came from very long time ago, because there was a situation when the Ukrainians were trying to start their offensive operation from Nikolaev towards Kherson, and at night, during the night time, they were trying to push their forces and try to establish control over the three towns: Alexandrovka, Stanislav, and Shiroko Balkan. So the Ukrainians did that. They moved their forces there. But later, the Russians managed to spot all these forces, and they pushed back forces from Stanislav, Shiroko Balka, and they encircled Alexandrovka. This Alexandrovka, they managed to encircle this town. And the Ukrainians kept these positions for a very long time, like maybe a month, maybe less. But after that, we got update that they were encircled. There were no way, because this road was under total fire artillery control, and that's why the Ukrainians in this area tried to break through, and they moved from this position. So that's why it was like the information, of course, from the Russian sources. The West source map and the sources didn't confirm this information, neither the Ukrainian military report. Maybe because I don't know why it's happened, but the fact is, these two maps show that this town is like in the gray zone. So we don't understand exactly who is controlling this town. But this town is not the most important. The most important part is that the Russians managed to establish control over entire this hook. We can say like a hook. It calls like a hook. According to the West sources map, this hook was under the Russian control since the beginning, but it's not like that, because the Ukrainians managed and had possibility to cross this gulf and to push their recos and commandos to this hook. So, and they did this, and it was very effective, and the Russians couldn't do anything with that. Furthermore, the Ukrainians mined this small pass between Achakov and this hook. It was mined, not just mined, there were a lot of fake ships there. So the Russians couldn't send their fleet to this gulf, and that's why the Ukrainians, they felt themselves pretty safe in this area. So that's why they managed to cross sometimes a lot of forces using helicopters, using the ships, the boats, and their recos, and those recos did a lot of problems to the Russians in this area. But this week the Russians managed to destroy all Ukrainian fleet in this area. So there is no more fleet, no more ship that could do any damage or cause any problem to the Russians. And we need to understand that the problem is not just about the fleet that could cross and transport the Ukrainian Marines on this hook. Another problem is that those fleet was battlefield fleet, so these ships could attack. And the main idea, and as far as I see, and according to some sources I have, the Russians are planning and preparing their offensive operations towards Nikolaev. To tell the truth, Nikolaev has a lot of problems. I'm not talking about the military problems, I'm talking about the problems among civilians. The situation there is very critical. You see that these towns, Nikolaev and Kherson, are very close to each other, but it's like the same, the distance between these two towns is just 50 kilometers, so it's nothing. People knows exactly what happens in these two towns. People from Nikolaev knows exactly what happens in Kherson. People from Kherson know exactly what happens in Nikolaev, and the border for civilians in this area is open, so you can go from Kherson towards Mykolaiv, maybe not using the straight road, maybe using Snegirovka or something like this. But situation is that Kherson, that is under the Russian control, there are jobs, there are fuel, there are work, there are food, there are everything. So life is continue there. So there are Russian flags and everything is okay. The only one problem is that this town is on the edge, on the front line. So that's why sometimes there are a lot of shootings, and this is the only problem. And if we are talking about Nikolaev, I saw picture how the people were getting bread by the tickets. I don't know, maybe it's not the wrong word in English, but when you buy, you're not buying food, you're not buying bread. The government gives you bread for like small tickets. You have a ticket, you come to some place, you show your ticket, and the government authorities give you this bread. As far as I know, they give one piece of bread, one entire bread for 3 days. So the situation is critical there, and I'm sure that maybe some people in Mykolaiv already wants to be captured by the Russians. So that's why as soon as the Russians managed to destroy entire fleet near Charkov, now they have possibility to start their offensive operations towards Mykolaiv, and the only one safe way to do this, of course, to use the coast. So their main idea of to attack first, Alexandrovka is under control according to the Russian sources, and they want to attack Luparevo, this town. And according to information I have, the Ukrainians managed, they pushed the reinforcement. So the Ukrainians, they understand this critical situation and they enforce their garrison in this town. So they're waiting for the Russians. But if we take a look at the West sources map, you see that the Ukrainians on their side started their counter-offensive operation in these 3 areas. And some sources say that they managed to return control over some towns. So this is our favorite situation when one sources are saying that they're attacking towards Mykolaiv, and other Ukrainians are saying that they're regaining some territories back. So that means that there are very heavy clashes there, and in a day or 2 and 3 we're gonna understand what happens. But I must say that Mykolaiv is already ready to be captured by the Russians, and believe me, I think that a lot of people, and mostly the old one, who lived in the USSR, who was burned maybe in USSR, I think that they are ready to be captured, because the situation in Mykolaiv is critical, and we understand that as soon as Russians manage to establish control over this town, their life will be fixed. Of course, they'll start to receive money. The government offices are going to start working. The government people will start receiving their salary, and the life will start from the new page. So this situation about Mykolaiv, and if we are talking about David Brodin, this map is not updated. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, they have returned entire control over David Brody. So, and it's like the situation that is right now. The Ukrainians were moved from this position, and furthermore, the Russians managed to establish control over Bela Krynica. It's, of course, according to the Russian sources, the Ukrainians totally refused this information. They are not confirming that, but the problem of Mykolaiv, of Kherson area. We heard a lot of time that Ukrainians are trying to do some offensive operation. To tell the truth, I don't even understand what they're planning to do. And the problem with any offensive operation in this area is the river. Again, the river, and these Ingulets. And the problem is not to cross the river. This is not so big river as Seversky Donetsk. The problem of this area is that this river is like a snake. You see this? Like it moves like letters. Like a snake. And for example, what was the problem near David Brody and near Bela Krynica? The Ukrainians established control over this territory, but after that the Russians established control over Bela Krynica. How that happened? First of all, you see that there is like a river like full of backs. You see, like, so back, another back, and all these towns established in the backs. It's very nice position for these people, for civilians, very beautiful position to establish town between, like in the back between 2 rivers. But you see, like every town is in the back, and it's the situation that makes the mission of establishing control with this territory impossible. For example, if let's say that we are Ukrainians and we want to establish control over the town Petropavlovsk, so we are attacking here. In this case, if you are the Russians from Gologanivka, you can cover this area, you can cover this area. For example, the Ukrainians are planning to establish control over Yurivka. So they're attacking Yurivka, but the Russians from their side, from Ivano Kipini attacked from this side and this side. So if you want to establish control over this territory, you can't attack or you need to use a lot of forces and to try to establish control over few these snakes backs at the same time, not just one, but for example entire 5 or 7 or like backs. In this case you're gonna have bridgehead, and that will allow you to develop and increase your bridgehead. And another option is to move from the north, for example from this area, and to take back by back. So one back to attack. So in this area, for example, the Russians won't be able to establish crossfire, and the Ukrainians will be in more safe positions. So 2 ways: or to establish big bridgehead at the same time in these backs, or to attack from the very beginning and take back by back. And as far as I see, there is no any other way, because we saw like what situation with David Brod. The Ukrainians managed to cross, establish control, but after that, entire forces there was totally destroyed. And according to information I have, few BTGs Ukraine were destroyed totally, with losses that more than 70% of the forces. So this situation in Ukraine for today. I want to remind you one more time that Military Summer channel condemn any kind of violence in Ukraine, not just in Ukraine, anywhere on the planet, any type of aggression on the planet. We condemn anything that can take human life and so on. And so that's it. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.